on my 60th birthday, which was just 4 years ago, or 3.5, I guess, two of my close friends bought me a pair of tap shoes.
Wow. No lessons, just the shoes.
They said they would help me find lessons, but basically for my birthday at this huge party that I threw for myself, they presented me with this gift I could not have guessed in a million years.
Welcome to the Crossing It Off podcast, where each episode we share the stories of individuals that are living out their bucket/life goal lists. I am your host, Roger Williams, and through hearing our guests' adventures, my goal is that you will find encouragement and empowerment to add and cross items off of your list. So today my guest is Consi Javier. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Awesome, Consi. And Consi describes herself as healthy, conscientious, curious, and grateful. Consi, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for asking me.
So let's get right into it. What item are you crossing off your list?
Tap dancing.
You're learning to tap dance. And what made you want to put this on your list in the first place?
My mother was a tap dancer in her youth, and our favorite tap dancers were Fred and Ginger. And I used to fake it doing it when I was on stage performing in amateur theater, and I finally got to do the real thing.
So, Consi, can you tell me, you said your mom was a professional dancer, and then what was that like in the household, in your home, and how did that dancing affect you and the rest of the kids in your family, and what was your mom like when she was doing this dancing?
Okay. So my mom and dad started having children kind of late in life. She was in her 40s, he was in his early 50s, actually. And but I do recall she was a playground assistant at the elementary school where we went. And one day I came home and she had a broken leg. And it was because she was showing the kids, and she stood at 4'8", mind you. So often we'd try to look for her, and we couldn't find her because all the kids were either taller or just tall. But anyway, the story is that she was trying to teach them an Irish jig. And she fell and broke her leg.
So that sounds,
was back when I was like, 8, 9, 10, something like that.
It sounded like she had a lot of joy. Was that infectious with the rest of the family?
Definitely. I think that's what, kind of fed my brother's, performance art ability, and just being comfortable in a crowd. And, my oldest brother, Nick, actually had a game show that he took to corporate events as like, instead of just a, dance party, it became more than that. He was like Mr. Entertainer. So, and my youngest brother followed in his footsteps somewhat. And so I just think it was kind of in our blood.
And so you didn't have any formal, even though your mom, she didn't give you formal lessons or give you any lessons, you just kind of were in the wings watching and seeing it and watch. Did she enjoy it? Was she happy with it?
Actually, she passed away when I was 11.
Okay.
She did all her dancing before she was married, but she would talk about it, and we watched some old movies together in my childhood.
Interesting. That's really cool. So how long has this been on your list that you've wanted to learn how to tap?
For as long as I can remember, because like I say, we loved Fred and Ginger, and it's been a lifelong dream of mine.
So what caused you at this point to decide that, okay, now I don't even try to guess your age. I know that's not a good game to play. But what Why now? What moved you to like say, okay, now's the time I'm going to go out here and I'm going to intentionally cross this off my list?
It's a pretty simple answer. On my 60th birthday, which was just 4 years ago, or 3.5, I guess, two of my close friends bought me a pair of tap shoes.
Wow. No lessons, just the shoes.
They said they would help me find lessons, but basically for my birthday at this huge party that I threw for myself, they presented me with this gift I could not have guessed in a million years. But I
So
guess they were listening.
yeah, I was just going to say, so this is something that you talked about with people, obviously, for them to know that much about you, to get that present. Is it something that you, when you talked about it, were you regretting not doing it? Was it just conversations about your mom? How do you think they picked up on that desire?
Okay, well, one friend actually is a dancer. She
Mm,
took tango lessons. And when we started our friendship, basically, we talked about things that we had in common. And performing or dancing was one of them, although I'd never done tap dancing. But apparently, I did talk about it because part of getting to know someone is talking about their childhood and
sure.
stuff. So I'm sure I mentioned it.
Wow, that's great that I was just talking with my
I know.
sister a couple of minutes ago about, knowing people is allowing them to feel like they belong, and
Yes.
really hearing and listening to people and knowing what is going on in their lives is so vital and important, especially these days. We were talking before the show, and we
Yeah.
both are going through some grieving and some hardship, with family and illness and stuff. And to know those things and not just hear them, but remember them. That's a really powerful statement, I think, on you as well, not just your friends, but on you, that they wanted to remember that, right? That
I Yeah, that's why I'm grateful. I mean, they really wanted to get to know me and I wanted to get to know them. And so, yeah, you share intimate details, and that was one that they remembered.
I think that's really awesome. And when you see those friends again, please tell them I said so, or make sure that they listen to this, because I think that's absolutely
You
incredible.
bet.
So you
I
said, so you outed yourself and you gave your age. What was the scariest thing for you? Not that there needs to be, it's probably scary any age to want to try to learn how to tap dance. But what was the scariest thing for you?
Okay, so the scariest thing, now that I think about it more, is around this age, a lot of people worry about their bone density and,
Mm,
general health. And I took the chance that, with the proper teaching and, that I have, continued to exercise throughout my life, and I do yoga every morning, that I would be in good enough shape to not um, run the risk of injuring myself. But that would have been that was probably the scariest thing about it was, should I do this at
mhm.
my age? And I know that 63 is the new 40 or whatever, but I just trusted. I just really trusted.
When you decided you were going to do it and you found some place to take the lessons, were there recommendations that they gave you as far as helping yourself get physically prepared to do it? Or is there anything you do
Mm,
besides the yoga? Is there anything you do besides that to help yourself do it? I mean, it's got to be physical exercise just in itself.
it
Um,
was great. It
and
was calisthenic and cardio. They didn't really mention anything
okay.
about how you take care of yourself, although they did always start the class with some stretching and prepping before we got into the steps and the routine, which I continue to practice even though we've already had our performance.
So you did have an outcome. There wasn't, you learned the steps and you had a performance. Did you share that with people? Did you share that with your friends that got you the shoes?
I sure did. Yep. They were the first two that I invited because we were only allowed to invite two people because of the COVID restrictions at the building
Ah,
that the venue it was in. And I've shared the videos with them
oh, nice.
and told them them profusely how grateful I was, that they gave me this opportunity, because I wouldn't have pursued it without the shoes.
So it took them to kind of nudge you along to do it.
It was that encouragement by the gift that they believed in me enough to, say that, here, I know this about you, and it was an encouragement. And those are the kind of gifts I think that stay with you, is
Sure.
the ones that can take you into the future. And, not that all gifts aren't special, because they are. But that one really reached back into my history as well as my present and future.
And so you took some lessons and you did a performance. Are you continuing on? Like, are you moving up the scale as far as difficulty
Oh,
goes?
not yet. I am still a beginner, believe me.
Yeah.
I have only had 12 weeks of classes, and they were by no means intermediate or advanced. So completely beginner and adult beginner. And yes, I am pursuing other studios and more opportunities, you bet.
That's a commitment. 12 weeks is a long time for I think anything these days to commit and following through on, for sure. Um, so what was the easiest or funnest thing about doing it?
Oh gosh, just finally learning the correct steps. Because like I mentioned, I used to fake tap when I was performing in an amateur troupe of just, vaudeville style musicals. And there was one time that the script called for somebody to tap dance across the stage. And I said, "Oh, I can fake that if you want me to." And the director said, "Yeah, go for it." And I was rehearsing it, and I overheard one of the tech people go, "Wow, she can sing, she can act, and she can tap. Oh my God." And I
The
was
triple threat.
totally just faking the tap steps across the stage. It was so funny to me. But anyway, it felt really, really gratifying to finally
Hmm,
actually learn the names of the steps and the actual steps, and then to actually, have a recital.
that's
Yeah,
cool.
it was
Yeah.
wonderful.
So has there been a benefit that you didn't expect or an outcome you didn't expect when you first put it on your list, or when you said, okay, I'm going to cross it off my list? Is there something that took place that you were like, wow, I wasn't expecting that to happen?
Yes, that I could actually do some of the steps from faking it over the years.
That you had been doing some of the steps correctly, that now you
All
could do
from
them.
just from watching movies
Oh
and
yeah.
television shows. I apparently picked some actual skill up. I just didn't know what they were called until I took the lessons. So yeah, one teacher actually said, "Wow, you can do that step but not that step. That's amazing." So
That's
I took
great.
it as a compliment.
Sure, most definitely. If you met somebody and told them your story and they said, "Oh, I have tap dancing on my list too," what
Hmm.
advice would you give them? What would like? Was there one thing you say, "Oh, when you start tapping, you need to make sure you do X"?
Oh gosh, do it now.
Mm.
I mean, do it at the first opportunity you can, because I just didn't know how great it would feel to
Mhm.
be moving like that again, because I was a cheerleader when I was in my high school, and I was very athletic. But then as the years took its course, got more sedentary, but always, stayed active in some way. And so to actually to have achieved this and done it and actually performed it, I had no idea how great it would really feel to accomplish it.
If you could you tell us where you took your tap lessons and maybe
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit of how you got engaged in them, with why you picked
Sure.
that group?
I'll plug them right now. This is the Northwest Dance Arts Studio in Bothell.
Bethel, Washington.
Yes, sir, Bothell, Washington. Did you want me to say the address too?
Yeah, you can if you like. I'll put it in
Okay.
the show notes so that people can find it if they live in the area.
It's located in the Logston building at 10127 Main Place, Suite B as in Bravo, Bothell, Washington. And it's owned by a really sweet woman named Sharon. I can't remember her last name, but yeah, she hires great teachers, and it's for all ages.
And why do you pick them?
Well, to tell you the truth, it was because they were close enough and affordable.
There you go.
Oh, and a really good friend of mine, a different friend, told me about it, and she knows the owner.
Nice.
And so I really kind of live on referrals from my
Sure.
friends. So I really trusted that, and I had a wonderful time. Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Your yoga practice, I'm very curious about this. Did you start that when you started the tap dancing, or is this something you had already been doing?
I've been doing yoga in the mornings for, how old am I? Probably 40 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And so do you think that did you find a lot of benefit and crossover
Oh, yes.
between the two? And what was that like?
I had an aunt who did yoga and stretching exercises when I was a teenager. And I just always thought they were a waste of time, and she looked silly doing it and all that. Well, guess what? I learned the benefits of them from, teachers and spiritual leaders in my life that I followed. And I find it very calming and soothing, but also very health supporting, because it helps me stay limber.
Right, which would be pretty important for tap dance, I'm sure.
Very important. Yes.
So before we go, what is the next thing that you want to cross off your list?
I've been thinking about that, because actually the way my life has worked out is I do these amazing things, and I don't realize that they're a bucket list type of thing until I do them, and I'm like, oh my God, I've always wanted to do that. So I've flown in a glider. I've flown, I love flying. Even went to indoor skydiving, and not that I want to do outdoor skydiving or real life. I've been in a hot air balloon. I love flying every chance I can get. My daughter lives out of state, so I go and visit her. But I'm trying to think. I've performed weddings. I'm an officiant. I've preached. I don't have a ministry degree, but oh, well, I would like to go to Greece.
Okay. Why Greece?
I hope I'm not wrong, but I've always thought of Greece, of course, as the seat of civilization. Like, they go way back,
Yeah.
to say the least. But to be among the ruins where, intelligent thought and philosophy started, and I've always been a fan of Greek, not astrology, but well, I am that too. Mythology, yes, thank you. Just to be in that energy is what I'd love to do and experience. I mean, I've been to Sedona, which is very, vortex oriented and stuff, and meditated, and I just that's the one thing I'd really, really love to cross off my list, is to go to experience Greece.
Okay. Well, besides that, what's something that you think you might like to do that is completely different than tap dancing and traveling to Greece? What's something I mean, skydiving is completely different, but what's something that you might like to do that's completely different?
Right. Gosh. That was the only thing I could come up with when I was thinking about the question. I really loved snorkeling when I went to Puerto Vallarta. I think that would be something completely different, because I'm not a strong swimmer. In fact, I took swimming lessons when I moved here 30 years ago, because I wanted to be more confident around the water, because I grew up in the desert in Arizona. And And
Much
I did.
different.
I took swimming lessons when I was an adult, but yeah, I think I'd like to explore more of that in a deeper
What
way.
yeah, what was it about it when you did it that like kind of caught your attention,
Oh,
or like, oh, this is really what I'd love to do again, or
yeah, there was something about it's like well, it is. It's another world. It's
mm,
literally to me another atmosphere, a completely different plane of existence where, body weight doesn't really matter. Kind of like being in space, I imagine. But that kind of thing. Oh, that'd be it. That would be it. I would love to experience zero gravity.
mm, okay.
That's it.
Why that? Why zero gravity?
There's just something I think about it being completely freeing.
Mm,
Like you're not even constrained by gravity when you're floating in the air or the atmosphere or the lack of atmosphere. I don't know how you would say it. I'm not a scientific person, but yeah, I would love to experience weightlessness. And I think water is the closest we can do on Earth.
sure. Awesome. Those are great suggestions, great things to have on your list. I hope you get to do them.
Thank
Uh,
you.
well, Consi, I really appreciate you telling your story. It's very inspiring, and I love hearing when people take up something that, especially over that period of time, that you
Thank
finally
you.
did it. I think that's great, and I wish you all the best, and I hope you get to feel that weightlessness that you're looking for.
Thank you so much, Roger. It's been a real pleasure.
As a reminder to our listeners, in this episode's show notes, you will find links to learn more about this week's guest and information on how you can cross this item off of your list. You can follow my adventures of crossing items off my bucket list on Instagram and Facebook, and as always, new episodes of this podcast are available to stream every Friday morning. We will meet you here next week, and until then, keep living out your list.